Well, we're back again, and for the last few programs, myself and Martin have been in the same room in the studio, but you're out and about in the world again, Martin.
Yes, I am. I'm in a place called New Beef,
And where's that?
just outside Brisbane,
Oh, really? Brizzy.
Brisbane.
What's it been like there? Nice and muggy and warm for you?
It's been fantastic. It hasn't dropped below 30 the whole week, I think.
I thought you were about to say, I don't think I'll come back.
Yeah, close thing. It's nice when the weather's this nice all the time.
Right. Are you on the flight path?
Sometimes, depending on the weather, yeah, the planes come over.
Nice selection in Brisbane?
Lots of A330s coming in from Asia.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah, well, it seems to be a growing trend, that A330 presence everywhere.
It's interesting when you see the old planes that, considering the problems Qantas are having, and then you look up and you see some of these old planes flying over, and they're also Qantas. You wonder whether they shouldn't have got their fleet right some years ago.
But that would have involved spending even more money that they don't have.
Yeah, well, no doubt we'll get to that later.
We'll get to that because they are not very happy. Last time we talked about it, they weren't very happy. They're less happy even this time round, and we'll pick up on that in just a moment. Local stories. You would have expected this to be announced before the share float, I would have thought, and that's Air New Zealand expecting first half pre-tax earnings to rise 20% from the year earlier. Apparently, December bookings are up, and they've got certainty on redundancy costs now. But that's a big jump to announce, I would have thought, and not know that it was coming, you know?
It's nice for the people who bought shares, I expect.
Do you think it would have
Yeah.
made a material difference if announced before the share sell down from the government?
I'm pretty sure it would have popped the price up a little bit, you know. I mean, it would have affected the share price of Air New Zealand on any day, wouldn't it, to announce a 20% increase in earnings? So, yes, it would have. But I guess they've got a schedule to stick to. Yeah, when they announce their figures and all of that, and I guess that's when it happened.
It's interesting, you know, people will always tell you that running an airline is really difficult. Margins are incredibly low, and chances are, 9 years out of 10 you'll be making a loss. Air New Zealand is sort of bucking that trend year on year, it seems. I wonder why.
Well, that might be down to their strategy of not competing on many routes, isn't it? That was their stated aim, to choose routes where there is actually no competition.
People could see that Air New Zealand are making a go of a particular route and decide to compete. So,
And that's the trouble with their
works both
strategy. I mean, maybe that'll happen. But when we talk about Qantas later, and as we've said before, maybe it all comes down to their domestic network.
yeah, and being able to rely on pricing that they can make the call on and never changes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, not subject to any sort of competition. So
none at all.
the share price now up 0.9% to $1.64.5 on that announcement. And I'm just trying to think what the government sold them for per share. I think it was a bit less than that, wasn't it?
Yeah, that wasn't it 157, 156?
Something like that. So already a gain. Reducing its stake to 53%, down from, I think, about 75%. So, and we're starting to see those A320s with winglets sailing through the capital.
How many are there now?
I think there are maybe three here now,
Yeah,
with
'cause-
a couple or another three to come.
It's interesting. We didn't see the first one much in Wellington at all, did we?
No, that was the one that you toured through. Where they were putting in dehumidifiers, if I remember right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, see them fly over every day now,
Oh, nice.
and they've got two black ones.
Oh, okay.
I saw them both together in Auckland the other day. I thought, no wonder I see them all the time. There are two of them. And a new Hobbit 777, the Smaug aircraft, I presume that's how you say it, seems to have made a bit of an impact amongst the spotters up there in LA.
Yes, I did notice that, and it was even in the mainstream press in America. They were quite excited about it.
It's always good marketing vehicle doing a big aircraft and, a stunning graphic.
It does look pretty cool, doesn't it?
It's amazing it all stays stuck on, though, isn't it?
They replace it every 3 or 4 flights, Paul.
They wouldn't want to mention that. Their share price might go down.
Yeah, that's true.
For people who live around Wellington, the site of a Sounds Air Cessna Caravan has been around for a long time. Martin, I see they've just announced they're going to Whanganui. Wellington to Whanganui.
That's pretty cool, isn't it? And will they also do Whanganui over to the Sounds?
Well, I guess one stop. I'm just looking here. One stop definitely between there, Wellington, and I think they go Blenheim, Picton, and Nelson. It doesn't talk about non-stop flights, but that's the first move from them in expansion terms for, 20 years probably.
Next thing they'll be buying Dash 8s and doing the main routes.
And competing against Air New Zealand.
Mm.
But those caravans, they are quite incredible aircraft. They launched that service way back in whenever I think the Caravan came out. What would it be, about 20 years ago?
Yeah.
They've maintained that service. They've obviously the Grand Caravans come along, but pretty well on the same aircraft all that time. That may even be unprecedented.
That's a very, very capable machine, isn't it?
For a long period of time.
They developed it for FedEx, didn't they?
Yeah, as a regional sort of cargo feeder.
Yeah, packet liner or something, yeah.
I had a look over one at Oshkosh, the Air Venture show there, one in corporate configuration, with the corporate cabin.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It's always interesting when you do on the airport and it's windy. They're still flying. They don't seem to back off much, do they?
It's that PT6.
Yeah.
What's that, a 400 horsepower?
Well, I think the one in the Caravan's more than that.
Right.
They go up to 1600.
Okay. Well, it's a grunt machine. It's got power.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently the most reliable, or one of the most reliable aero engines ever made.
Yeah. And it's that single pilot IFR thing with, 10 or 11 passengers on the Grand Caravan. So, yeah, for a little airline, potentially a great money earner. And they're saying here that this new service will help fill the void left by Air New Zealand. That's effective from Christmas Eve, so I guess that points to the timing of early next year. They start on January 21st, 6:45 in the morning, out of Whanganui, Monday to Saturday. Return flight in at 6 p.m, Sunday to Friday.
That's actually the perfect plane for that.
Yeah, because it's only a couple of hundred miles away. And what do they cruise at, about 150 knots?
Yeah. That's what Air New Zealand can't do. That's the advantage that a small airline has. Put a Caravan on it and see how it goes.
I wonder if a multi-stop sort of network using that aircraft covering more centres would work.
Surely the next thing will be a couple of days a week over to Nelson, because it can't be that far from Whanganui to Nelson.
Yeah, I wonder if there's any traffic demand there between the two. Palmerston North, there's always something going on. That's close to Whanganui, so you can start to make a multi sort of stop circuit there.
Yeah, you could do Wellington, Whanganui, Palmerston North, Rotorua.
Well, you get over to Napier.
The big zigzag.
And then Napier up to Gisborne is not too far. If you think of it just as sectors,
Yeah.
though I don't know what the traffic demands are between those. You'd probably be picking up people who are wanting to go, Napier back to Wellington or Whanganui, but you'd have to go via all these places. I don't know. Worth thinking about. I guess they are.
I'm sure they are, yeah.
They're pretty grumpy down in Invercargill right now,
Well, they're not there, are they?
They don't exist. It adds a whole new meaning to trying to do something to put you on the map.
Yes.
What we're talking about is Air New Zealand's Cup, which has looking at a graphic of it here, in-flight cups. Quite nice. Looks like one of those regular espresso takeaway cups. It's got a map of the country on, lovely graphic, but everywhere they fly to from Wellington is mentioned, except poor old Invercargill. They've disappeared.
And I'm sure we'll never hear the end of it because they have a very proactive mayor.
In the Stuff article, Tim Shadbolt, the mayor, he is quoted as saying, "I'm quite surprised that we have been left off or are a vanishing city," he says. Maybe Air New Zealand knows something I don't know about the restructuring of Otago and Southland councils, he's quoted as saying.
There you go, so make an opportunity out of it.
Dunedin and Queenstown are on the Cup, though.
What's happened to Invercargill is just what happens to New Zealand on basically every single American weather map of the world.
Exactly.
Well, over here in Australia, the locals are hopping mad, Paul. Hopping mad.
Like kangaroos.
Yeah, not happy at all.
What's going on? We mentioned Qantas. I'm sure it's something to do with that. And they have been squealing like little piglets lately.
They have, about the perceived threat or the actual threat of majority foreign-owned Virgin taking away Australia's choice to fly Qantas to any place in Australia.
How could they say taking away?
I don't know how they say that, but by using foreign money to undermine Qantas, they will take away Australia's right to fly Qantas expensively to regional cities.
Expensively.
And that's basically the thrust of their argument, because Virgin has access to foreign capital, and because these companies are willing to throw their money away, basically to buy market share, no matter what it costs, This is what they're saying in the papers. Qantas should get some government support. So Qantas is saying, we need matching funds. So basically, they're just crying for more subsidy.
That's incredible, isn't it? The cheek of that.
It is. And, basically, they'd like the government to pass a law to say that on certain routes there will be no competition.
So let's try and break this down. Why would, if Qantas are correct, why would Air New Zealand, Etihad and Singapore Airlines want to operate at a loss in Australia, which would be a big scale loss? It's not a huge market, but it's a reasonable size one, and Virgin has quite a few aircraft. It's a big fleet. Yeah. Why would they run at a loss for the foreseeable future and not operate as a profit-making business? What, just to try and kill off Qantas? Is that what they're trying to say?
That's what Qantas is saying. In a nutshell, that's exactly what
they're saying. So get Qantas out of the picture, gone, or so cheap that they can buy it. Is that the thinking?
There's two angles on this. Qantas either wants protection from competition and more money from the government, or the other one is that possibly, although this is unlikely, they want the government to relax the foreign ownership laws so they can sell them, some of them, more of their shares overseas.
So I wonder who's driving this.
I just think it's an opportunistic ploy to get more money somehow, somewhere from the government for an airline which is actually not doing very well. They do fly a lot of old planes around. You still see old 767s without winglets. You still see 737-300s trolling around. They're up against an airline with a much more modern fleet. Virgin's basically all new.
And a fresher sort of feel on the brand.
Fresher sort of feel.
Even though it's an old brand, Virgin. It's not a new brand.
No, it's been around for a while. And it's just a rather cynical ploy to try and get more money out of somebody somehow for an airline which is not doing very well. Interestingly, someone I've worked with in the past who's flying off to Europe tomorrow on business, he is a long-time Qantas user, but since using Emirates, he has now switched over to Emirates.
Oh, well, that's what you mentioned that. You predicted that.
That's exactly what I thought would happen. And the only reason he switched to Emirates was because he wanted to be guaranteed. He wouldn't have minded booking Qantas if he could be guaranteed that he'd always get Emirates on the international legs. Because he said the in-flight service is so much better on the Emirates plane. So he said, to ensure that he always flies Emirates, he's going to book directly with Emirates and make sure that he gets the planes he wants.
It sounds like really the real story is Qantas International is not earning the money like it used to.
That's it. And so they're protecting the golden goose, which is the domestic network.
I'm just thinking that maybe something really big needs to happen here. You've got a question in this day and age, is an airline named by an acronym, which most people don't understand, viable anymore? The Fijians bit the bullet. They threw out Air Pacific and put Fiji Airways in there. Complete change.
I think Australia will ever change that.
Well, they probably won't, but that raises the question, doesn't it? If Qantas doesn't inspire loyalty amongst Australians anymore, then is the name redundant?
That's a perfectly valid question and something they should probably be thinking about, but I think they're a long
No, I agree with you. Yeah. Losing that one, well, the government would come in and fund it before losing that, because that would be seen as Australia going down the tubes,
Well, they've just let Holden go. Well, not that the name will go, but certainly the iconic classic, family wagon with a 4-litre engine and big petrol tank. That's gone.
They were always a bit ugly, though, weren't they? The Aussie cars. Let's face it. They didn't quite have the sort of panache of the American body shapes, even though they were big. They were still quite austere, weren't they, in their design?
They were cheaply built, but they weren't cheap to buy. They're talking I was listening to ABC yesterday in the car. And they're going on, what happened? Well, what happened is you could buy a 3 Series BMW for nearly the same price.
Yeah. And it's more stylish, drives better.
Yeah, it doesn't use as much fuel because it doesn't have a 3.7 or a 4-litre engine stuck up front.
Well, maybe it says actually quite a bit about the change in Australia as well, because, you listen, over the last few days, there have been, the old promotional ads they've been playing for Holden. And it was all around, the family, the sort of the little guy, You'd see those sort of small business types driving around in their big Commodores as the way to express success,
Yes.
Maybe that's all changed.
Well, now they're all urbane, coffee-swilling BMW drivers,
That's
Paul.
right.
Although,
Wouldn't be seen dead in a Holden.
but where I am, just in South Brisbane, I'm not seeing much of that either.
Really?
No.
Oh,
They're still Holden and Falcon drivers
there
here,
you
mate.
go. Yeah.
Yeah. They'll
Remember,
be buying up large.
remember the Tirana?
Yeah, that's right.
The Tirana.
Actually, one of the guys down the road's got a P76 in his car.
Oh no, it must be one of the few in the world left.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Looking a bit rough.
Horrible, ugly-looking beasts.
Yeah.
Though apparently, if you got a good one, they weren't too bad.
No, one of them wasn't too bad, yeah. A car designed by a committee which never actually met.
There you go. Best of all worlds. Okay, so that's the Australian situation. A couple of incidents to talk about. In no particular order, Delta 767 off the runway at Madrid. Apparently a hydraulic failure into the grass, dug in. No winglets on that one, I noticed. There's been a bit of talk about the Asiana Flight 214 crash at San Francisco, and a new piece of video that's come up that I was watching. I don't know if you've had a chance to see that. It's
No, I haven't.
still filmed from a long way away, but you can see sort of exactly what happened and how the thing flipped around. It's amazing it stayed intact, actually. It almost does a cartwheel. But anyway, there's been more information come out, released by the National Transportation Safety Board Wednesday this week. They began a hearing into the July accident in San Francisco earlier in the week. Anyway, the first officer who was sitting in the jump seat behind the captain, who was a trainee, and the instructor, advised of the high sink rate several times, a couple of times in English, then in Korean. It improved a little bit, he said, but then he decided not to say anything, and he kept quiet about that for the rest of the approach. They impacted at a speed of 103 knots, so the speed got down to there. Another interesting piece of evidence is that the guy flying the aircraft, the trainee captain, wasn't wearing sunglasses. And it turns out it's a great insult to wear sunglasses if the guy sitting next to you is of higher rank.
Ah, yes. Don't you know that, Paul?
The student captain saw a flash of light as the plane descended through 500 feet.
They're saying it might have temporarily blinded him or something.
Well, the NTSB said the pilot did not believe the flash of light was a factor in the crash.
Okay.
But there's still talk of him not having these sunglasses on. But isn't that weird? It's a cultural thing. And they say here it's very important in their culture.
Very important. Very important.
It's crazy.
You do see some strange things. Well, not strange, but to our culture or our eyes, a little things that we don't do. For example, when a lift is just about to arrive, they'll bow to the lift in case when the doors open, there's somebody more senior than them in the lift. This is in a corporate setting.
Right. What? So they've already done the deed.
They've just done a pre-bow, just get it out the way, just in case.
Yeah, one in the bank.
Yeah.
The NTSB document suggests two concurrent problems. The plane was descending too fast and its forward speed was too slow through the whole approach.
Yeah.
So it was never stable.
Badly managed the whole way down.
Badly managed, 103 knots.
Yeah, it's pretty slow.
That's how slow they got in the end. Lot 787 spoilers damaged in Chicago. The same because of high winds.
I know, I read that. That's very interesting, isn't it?
So they sort of sensitive wee little things.
It's strong winds during the crossing, wasn't it? Because it flew over from Poland and it was exceptionally windy the whole way.
Right. They're saying
when they say damage, though, do they just mean they need re-rigging or something?
Well, re-rigging, yeah. I guess they're all wire controlled, aren't they? Fly-by-wire controlled. They'd be just directly linked to the actuator. But they're saying the position of some of the control surfaces, they're obviously all dynamic, right? So depending on the conditions, they're tweaked. The ailerons may be tweaked down slightly. There might be just a little bit of trailing edge flap used, and I don't know. It seems to be able to control all the different bits of the wing. They're saying that it's a software fix where you change the positions of some of the control surfaces in flight to give the spoilers more room, or so they can sit down properly, or something like that.
Just sounds like a rigging thing, because it doesn't sound like there was damage really. It just looked like didn't look right.
Well, they had to fly it back to Poland empty. They wouldn't have liked that.
Jeez, they must be getting sick of that plane, eh?
Yeah, think about it.
When I flew through Warsaw in October. Both 787s were sitting there. One was flying, but the other one was just sitting there.
Yeah. Yeah, strong winds on the more than 10-hour flight from Warsaw to Chicago, they're saying here. Mozambique E-Jet
Ah,
crashed.
yeah, the Embraer, yeah.
Lamb, is it the airline?
Yes.
That'd be one of the first, wouldn't it?
Ah, yeah. Do they know why? I haven't been following it.
No, I haven't seen it, though the wreckage is in little pieces, so it hit pretty hard.
I just heard that they had got the cockpit voice recorders out. If they want to stop aircraft breaking up, they should build them out of Toyota Land Cruiser ball joints. Because we spent the weekend trying to take the steering link off an old cruiser where I'm staying at the moment, and man, that thing took a beating before it came off.
Really?
Big hammers and long levers.
Oh, well, there you go. But you got there in the end.
Yeah, geez, but it was hard. It was just incredible how much punishment this thing was taking to get off. In the end, we had to heat it up and get even more
Well,
levers and
that's why they were popular, for the desert and everything.
yeah. And that's maybe the car Holden should have built.
There you go. That was their weakness.
That was it.
And the other story that has been around for the last few weeks, been watching with interest, and that is the G-Nex engine icing problems on the 747-8 and 787. What'd you make of that?
Yes, that's not a good one for General Electric, is it? So I think the fix was they're not allowed to fly within 50 miles of certain types of weather, isn't it?
That's right. So you've got to be on the lookout more, and you've got to be prepared to have a diverting track. I mean, this could be a bit annoying.
And I see, but bad news is not only for General Electric. I see Rolls-Royce, for some reason, Japan Airlines has stopped flying their 787s
Oh,
last
okay.
week for a couple of days due to some issue with their engines. But no other Rolls-Royce operators had stopped flying. So
Yeah, obviously the engines aren't a problem around the weather conditions that are causing the GNEX
no,
problems. It's just
no.
another issue, eh?
I think it happens when you're out on the bleeding edge,
The bleeding edge. Yeah,
the bleeding edge. So get another 0.5% of fuel consumption out of the thing, and you run into problems in very obscure weather conditions.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it'll be a software fix, but it'll mean another 0.5% on the fuel bill or something
Well,
like
they
that.
have to run it hotter, don't they? On that particular, I think it's the stage behind the main fan that can ice up.
It just always amazes me though how these things can ice up at all, considering the
I
temperatures
know.
they're running at and the speeds they're spinning at. But
Yeah, but they can.
yes, and it's funny. It's not at freezing. It's at certain moisture levels and at certain temperatures that are not necessarily freezing.
It came to light with the wind back of engines on an Airbridge cargo 747-800 over China, over Siberia. There you go.
Yeah, and the engines are quite severely damaged, aren't they?
Yeah, and grumpy airline.
Yes.
All right, Airbus's longest aircraft gets more seats to help rebuild value. This is in Bloomberg. The plan, which needs approval from regulators, would see the seat count on the twin-aisle A340 go to 475, according to a presentation by Airbus and engine makers in London last week to A340 owners. Service costs of the four-engine jet would fall to the equivalent of 2 power plants to improve its economics. They stopped building the A340 in November 2011. And some customers apparently a bit grumpy that the resale value of those airliners is below what they were told by Airbus at the time.
2 weeks ago, not Boeing, Airbus was saying they want a minimum seat width of 18.5 inches, and now they're flogging a solution with a seat width of
Yeah,
17.2.
yeah. I found that the earlier comment a bit strange at the time.
I guess it helps those airlines, those less wealthy airlines with A340s that want a bit more people in them.
If you can sell the seats.
Yeah, exactly.
All
Another
right,
one.
we're out of time. It flies, and next time it will be our pre-New Year edition. Maybe we'll see. We'll
Yeah,
be next time, and I guess you'll be back for that.
I will be.
All right. In the meantime, Paul Brennan in Wellington, and
Martin Noakes, somewhere outside Brisbane.
see you soon.
Cheers.